Nketia faces Koku Anyudoho over 9,350 delegates to decide. And remember, it's happening this Saturday. Very, very interesting. It shall be. Police intercept 1,500 pieces of ammunition in Bimbela. The full story is on pages 3 and 10 of the New Crusading Guide this morning. Another story here. We support fight against smuggling of goods. Free Zones Authority has this to say. And finally, Veeb celebrates 60th anniversary with Nalerigu Baptist Medical Center. Fantastic.
Now let's take a look at the custodian. The custodian says here, government justifies aggregate 30s in first-class schools. That story is on page 3. Don't campaign NPP wants MP aspirants. That story is on page 2. NDC elects national officers on Saturday. That story is on page 2. Shut down illegal deposit takers. That's coming from Occupy Ghana, and that they are telling Bank of Ghana, and that story is on page 4. Law to make free SHS compulsory soon. It's coming from the president, and that story is on page 3 of the custodian.
I remember when this whole thing came up, that free SHS shall be compulsory. I did say that it is not in any law that you should make secondary education.
So now they are trying to make
what the
it
Constitution
legal.
says is progressively free basic education, you know, compulsory and basic education. But free SHS, well, now they're coming up with a law for that. Now let's take a look at Daybreak newspaper, which says robbing the nation, B5 Plus Limited caught in over 3 million Ghana cedi scandal tax evasion.
That's crazy.
That's what it says. And another story here says Veeb joins Nalerigu Baptist Medical Center to celebrate 60 years of quality healthcare. And finally, cylinder recirculation model takes off early 2019. So we're definitely, you know, keeping a close eye on that particular story. What are
let's take a look at some online stories. We're reading from citynewsroom.com. Accra Road Master Plan not fit for purpose. That's coming from Transport Engineering, who was speaking on Point of View last night. Nanado's my appointees are clean claim is deceitful. That's coming from NDC, and there's a picture here of Kofi Adams. Akufo-Addo petitioned to remove incompetent Chief Justice and AG. MPs deliberately frustrating passage of the RTI bill. That's coming from the Media Coalition. And finally, CTAC threatens to push for annulment of semester. So this and more on citynewsroom.com.
Okay, interesting. Now I think we can go straight to introducing our guest.
Yes.
But do remember that the hashtag is still Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line
0550 585 832 0550 585 832. Now we have been joined by George Lowe, who is the former MP for North Dai. Later on, we'll be joined by Richard Ahiagba, who is the communications director for MPP USA, the Chicago chapter. Good morning.
Good morning. I was with Richard on a sister TV station yesterday. So
oh, really?
Very interesting.
So you're meeting each other again today?
Yes, it's either I'm chasing him everywhere he's going, or he's chasing me everywhere.
I think he's chasing you since he's the one that's late.
He's the one that's late. He's definitely chasing you.
How have you been? We've not seen you in a while. What have you
I've been good. I've been good. I've been up to all sorts of very interesting stuff. And we are hanging in there in spite of all the challenges.
Challenges.
Anyway, so I want you to take a look at page 3 of the daily graphic, because there's another interesting angle over here. So let's start off with page 3 of the daily graphic.
Okay, so we're discussing free senior high school, and it says here, page 3 of the daily graphic, rich must pay. Participants in graphic business standard they're talking about you know, holding the rich people accountable. So speakers and participants at the Graphic Business Stanbic Breakfast Forum in Accra yesterday unanimously agreed that rich parents must be made to pay for education for their children under the free SHS program to help save the policy from collapsing or compromising the quality of education. While the participants insisted that they were ready to pay to maintain the quality of SHS education, the speakers argued that allowing capable parents to pay for their children's SHS education would ensure equity and sustain the program from collapsing under just a small public budget that we're dealing with. So it looks as though, and I think even the finance minister admitted this on Bernard's show some months back, that if parents are capable, they should pay for their children.
As much as on the front page of the Daily Graphic, if you read page 16, you can see that the director of the Ghana Education Service is saying government will sustain the free SHS funding. We've heard from government communicators a lot about free SHS. We can sustain, making a mockery, to that extent of the minority, NDC amongst others. There's a statement
and he says here, let me quote him: "It is our ship, and we must find a way to make it work together. Because if it sinks or stays afloat, we are in it together." So it looks as though government is really, really determined to make it work, which is a good thing. But I do think to make it sustainable, we have to only support those who actually need it and not just make it a one-size-fits-all for everyone.
Fantastic. Anyway, Honorable George Low, now we did get the indication from the government that, you know what, we can sustain this, we can sustain this. Personally, I was convinced by the statements from government. But now we're hearing from the Deputy Education Minister at this same graphic business Stanbic breakfast meeting, and he did say clearly that he is asking the business community to support this particular free SHS to help sustain it. Now, I'll take what your comments are on this development.
Well, good morning to you all, and good morning to our Sheriff viewers. And, interesting the way government keeps shifting the goalposts. You see, this is not rocket science. Even before the policy was ruled out, some of us, if you had followed us this, I said, policy-wise, it doesn't make sense the way government wants to go. You will fail. You will have hardship on the way because, you see, what is the thinking? The thinking should be very basic, that no Ghanaian child should stay at home because of lack of financial ability to go to school. It cannot be simply that all Ghanaian children should wholesale go to school. It doesn't make policy. It doesn't make policy sense, because you see, already we complained that education, proud to free SHS, education was taking about a high chunk. The education budget was taking a high chunk of our national budget, and teachers and most of the money was actually going just into salaries and operations, not quality of education and things like that. So if you want to extend free education, we are saying fantastic, but the policy should be that you cannot do it. So it's a social justice policy. In the world now, we are all talking about social justice in it. And what is social justice? Social justice only means that all of us may not be of the same height, but we should make sure that everybody gets to a level where we can see beyond the wall. That is it. So for a government to say that everybody come and see, when you are short, you can't see. You understand? So bringing it back to free SHS, the policy is simple. I have said that even if I were government, the simplest way is that anybody who went to public primary school or public basic school should transit to secondary school free SHS. Because you cannot go to Morning Star, you cannot go to Christ the King and pay the 3,000 and 4,000. And then come and tell me that I'm unable to pay 800.
But that would be a bit harsh. For instance, if I went to Christ the King. So imagine the situation where when I finished GSS3, maybe my parents are now on pension or they are unemployed. They lose their job.
So that is where means testing comes in, and that is where your own suggestion comes in. So you are from Christ the King, but you cannot pay. So make a case. There should be a process where you go and make a case and say that, okay, due to A, B, C, D, A, ICGC used to have a scholarship scheme. I don't know if they still have it. And there are students in Morningstar, and that is how do you apply? And then they do a means testing. Once they are convinced that, oh, your background is such that your parents cannot afford, they pay your school fees for you. That is how it's done. That is the prudent thing. That is how a policy is rolled out. You don't wake up in the morning after drinking a cup of tea, come and announce to Ghana that free education and go and launch it at once.
It took a bit more than that.
No. Do you know why it didn't take a bit more? If it took a bit more, they would have known that now we shouldn't be in green and gold and yellow. You should have known that if 100,000 students went to SS1, to next year, the numbers will do what? Increase. How come nobody thought about that? And that there was no game plan, and that suddenly we are caught up in numbers, and then we are running to countries to go and find out what they are doing, and we even come and do it wholesale. Look at all the challenges they are still going through. They were supposed to have gone on Thursday, then they shifted it to Saturday. Some few schools have started, others are still in the registration process, and things that number of days lost. Already, we don't have enough days.
Those ones usually happen, or
I am saying that
with a single track, those were happening.
With a single track, you should note that the term was longer. So if you lost a number of days, you could make it up. Now, 22nd December, they are supposed to...
The term was actually shorter.
Listen, 22nd December, they went in November. 22nd December, they are coming back. You know that? So how many days?
That's just a Christmas break. They'll go back to school.
But you see, by the time you settle in, you see school, I mean, for the new ones, school is not, we used to, at those times, we used to say we were acclimatized. There are some who have never left their parents before. This is the first time. Yeah. It takes a bit of time. I was laughing at one of the girls who lived with me yesterday that she's gone to secondary school. She will go hungry a few days and see that the way food is around in the house is different in school. They will need to acclimatize over a period of time. You see, and that is why government itself, realizing the challenges they have, they are now saying that they want to fast track a process where they will revert to the normal thing, so that this green track and things.
So that's fine if they've already admitted that this is just
but I'm saying that you see, when we are rolling out policies, and I keep saying almost every policy that we roll out at the end of NHIS is suffering. Why is it suffering? Basic. At the beginning of the policy, we're just looking at, oh, we can do it. Sustainability has become a problem. Now the argument is that we should pay more. But who would do free SHS, who would do NHIS without an actual actuarial policy framework over a number of years? That is how it's supposed to be done. I can give you 1,000, look, 1D, 1F. The same process. Right? One village, all those things, you can see that as a policy. Government, it may be nice, it may sound nice in the ear, but to roll out has not been good because a certain cycle that needed to be looked at has not been looked at. So today, you see, Director General of Ghana Education Service, he himself, his budget, right, doesn't get. And he's here telling you people that government will sustain on what authorities is
okay, thank you.
I've heard President Akufo-Addo say something very funny over the weekend, and I can't believe it.
What did he say?
Did I hear him say that he was bringing a law to Parliament so that free SHS cannot be changed?
What's wrong with that?
Oh my God!
Cannot be changed.
No, he's my God! Making it
when we made a law that government appointees and everybody will be should be members and they should serve their 4-year term in the District Assembly, it took them 1 day emergency to amend the law. He cannot. I mean, I can't imagine that a lawyer of his standing can think that he can tie the hands of a successive government in terms of doing.
When it's not an entrenched.
What we are saying is that any government that comes and it even doesn't want to review free SHS is an incompetent government. Anybody who thinks that it cannot be reviewed when they themselves are reviewing it already. How many reviews have been free SHS from everybody else to first year starting to now green track and gold track? Is it not a review of the program? So what kind of joke is that? Let's get serious in this country.
Thank you very much.
The populism is becoming too much. The propaganda is coming from the highest level. It's sad. We should leave it from Italian and buy and go to
We've been joined by Richard Ahian, our Communications Director of MPP USA Chicago Chapter. Good morning, Richard.
Good morning.
How are you? We're discussing free SHS, of course, and participants at the Graphic Business and Stanbic Forum all agreed that the rich must pay for SHS. They shouldn't, have their children go to high school for free. If we want to sustain this program, yes. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, good morning to you, Wilberforce and Difa, and to your viewers. I think...
Into your good friend.
Yes, of course.
Yes,
of course. We've already greeted with a handshake. So, whatever forum, I think, was Stanbic and some...
Graphics Stanbic Business Forum.
I think it's a good thing. Some people have that feeling that we should create, a policy that is not all-encompassing. Yeah. But from a policy standpoint, from a government standpoint, you cannot.
Why can't you?
From the outset, create a policy that would appear in its look to be discriminatory.
That's not discriminatory.
Yes, it is. To say that we are going to section off the country and then have some people have free SHS and some don't have. So you cannot do that. The reason being that the investment is in all of Ghana's future, not in some of Ghana's
Richard,
future.
As a developing country...
No, if you just allow me to flow. The thing is, if you do that, you are suggesting, or less, you are creating a limitation or more or less a disability in the policy that you have to create an arm that actually adjudicates who is able to pay and who is not able to pay.
Why not?
Yeah. Why not do that? Yeah, but I'm saying that if you are doing that, I don't think that you are implementing a national policy. You understand? It's a national policy. Now, if as implementation goes on, and there is aspects that we have to look at, then you do that. But you don't do that beforehand to say that we're going to begin to discriminate in the policy.
You know, LEAP is a national policy.
Yes.
But not everyone is entitled to LEAP. Even NHIS is a national policy, but if you don't apply for it, you don't get it. So why don't we find this will it can still remain a national policy if there's still a means testing?
You see, this is education. And we live in a third world country where we know education is a panacea to our growth. So if you are rolling out an educational policy, if you're talking about university, maybe that's a different category. But you want to have your population at a minimum level be literate. That gives you an impetus to advance your development agenda. So that investment, you cannot begin to waver and say, let me do it this way, let me do it that way. Now, given the constraints we have,
what is the constraint?
Let me tie that to the poll over there. If we had implemented this program and money and everything was not a problem, do you think we'll be having this conversation? We will not. So this is something that is happening incidental to the implementation, the constraint financially, that we acknowledge that is coming. So people are trying to improvise and say, let's
the government acknowledges now that they're funding, because the GS director is saying that we can sustain it. Are you saying the government acknowledges now that free SHS will face financial constraints?
No, I'm talking about the people at the poll. They're seeing some financial difficulty. Hence, they are saying that maybe government make it so that other people who are able to pay. But as a policy on the face of it, you cannot do that, because education is to a very large extent a right for development that we cannot begin to exclude some people but because Richard, we feel that
if I may just come in here, the people we are saying should pay are those who will go get their education regardless of free SHS because they can afford it. Right? They've gone through private school in primary, JSS, so they can afford to pay for secondary school. So if we're helping them, one would think this is more of an affirmative action move where we are opening the gap for everyone who can't afford it to go in, so that they can have equal opportunities with those who would be able to afford it, irrespective of what government is in power or what policies are in place. So why is it that if we are a developing country and we do have limited resources, why shouldn't we be more intentional about our policies so that we can sustain this program?
Yeah, there are some policies you can be intentional about. I think you were mentioning some of those. But a policy that is a prerequisite for your development, if you are being intentional about it, you're actually undercutting your development, because you need that as a matter of necessity, you understand, to be able to develop. So that one, you cannot. There are certain things you manage, certain things you just cannot manage, you understand. So this is one of them. Now, midstream, if people are coming up with these ideas that let's do this so that, you know, we can raise some finances to do that, that's an option I think people in charge will look at. But from the outset, you cannot do that. The reason being, look, let's imagine a scenario where government is bringing free SHS and says, rich people, you have to pay. Can you imagine the kind of Ghana will be?
They would pay regardless. They will pay.
No, forget about. I'm not asking you to be rational in the sense of yourself. I'm talking about look at the political space.
Yes.
MPP. No, wait.
No,
MPP,
even the finance minister admitted it that he won't have an issue.
I'm telling you that in a situation, imagine now, as you and I sit here, and my honorable brother is here. And he said, oh, MPP said we're going to do free SHS. And suddenly free SHS came, and they said that, okay, rich people should pay and poor people should go free. You understand? Can you imagine the kind of discussion we'll be having? But you said everybody was going to have free SHS. Just now, we said everybody, and now we started from year one. Okay, the implementation model we chose has become a point of criticism for them. So what I'm saying is that the policy is such an important national policy. We have to enroll it for all. These kids that we're investing in, they are not somebody's children.
Okay.
They are Ghana's investment, and we must...
Thank you very much, Richard. But what stops you from allowing people to simply apply? If you want this, apply for it. You can see a picture here, Daily Graphic front page. You can see many hands up. These people say we are willing to pay. Now, every hand up is money lost to the state. These people are willing to pay. So what stops us from allowing those who want to pay to pay? And those who want it free should just apply.
When was this poll held? Was it yesterday or so?
Yes, at the Graphic
it's yesterday, so I don't think anything is stopping anybody just yet. But what I'm saying is that...
You haven't created the avenue.
Well, but what I'm saying is that, first of all, you implement the policy. This is true with all social or national policy, on the public policy. You do the best you can to anticipate all the shortfalls, and you implement. In real time, there are constraints that will come, and as you roll along, you adjust and review and fine-tune it. So we're in a stream going. If it becomes necessary that government feels that this should become an option for people, that will happen. But you see, mind you, Wilberforce, if we go on that tangent, two things you must understand. This country needs the education of all those children, okay, to be at least at senior secondary school level. Okay. At that point, any time in your life, if you decide to advance, you will. You couldn't have done that at GSS level. So SSS is more or less, if I have my way, we should make that compulsory, free for people to go. Now, if you don't do that, you actually take the opportunity away from certain people to go. Now, if we now decide to say that because by show of hands, we're going to come up with a policy that if you have money, you pay. If you don't have money, you don't pay. We know life. Anything can happen midstream. Okay? The person say, I can pay for my kids, and suddenly you say you pay, and then something happened, this real to life, and he lost the ability to pay. Okay? And so what happens? Goes back?
No, he can just apply for a special case and be qualified.
Okay, so you see the difficulty we're creating?
It's not difficult. The application can be done. Anyway, thank you very much, Richard.
Please.
We'll go for a break. We'll come back. And
I have to finish my thought.
Yes.
So this is still Breakfast Daily. It's still the news review, joined by George Lowe. He's a former member of parliament for North Dai. Is it North Dai? And of course, Richard Ehangba also joined us. So stay tuned to Breakfast Daily. Keep your messages coming through. # Breakfast Daily and the WhatsApp line
0550-585-832. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
City TV is live. City TV is a free-to-air digital channel. On a digital TV, please press menu on your remote control and run a news search on your TV. Take note that without an antenna, you cannot access City TV on your television. City TV can be accessed on a multi-TV digibox. Tune into City TV and experience your world. City TV, it's your world.
is Breakfast Daily on City TV. Before the break, we were discussing free SHS. Some people at the graphic and Stanbic business, it was a forum, right?
Yeah.
They've agreed that the rich must pay for free SHS, and I think it's rightly so. If you can afford it,
They're all
you should
willing
pay
to
for
pay.
it.
Right.
But
You're
Richard was
finishing your
finishing.
But you see, I'm saying it's a beautiful idea, but as a policy, the orientation is that Ghana is underwriting the cost for all its students under the SSS level wants to go to school, should go. Now, if midstream there's a review that is acceptable, that some people pay, I think the policy managers would come up with that thinking. But I am of the view that if we are running something targeted at elevating the country to a certain level, the country takes responsibility for that investment. Okay? If there is a way other people can pay, I mean, there are schools, I think the school, secondary schools should come up with innovative ideas to how to draw on mobilized resources if they want to do anything. But as a matter of policy, I think that it's sufficient that government is paying for it. We may have concerns and think other people should pay, but I don't think that really fits what the government is trying to do and what we ought to do, because things will change in life. Okay. So any number of people who say they want to pay now, life conditions may change, and it means you have to create a special arrangement within the policy to say if your condition changes tomorrow, then come and apply for this.
That seems like a good idea.
Yes,
so let's do
but
that.
But then you see, that is unintended bureaucracy that you are introducing into the policy when it should be a blanket policy. Everybody goes to school. I believe if I'm a parent and I feel that my kids go to school, or some parents that have a particular school, they can come up and support them if they feel there's any need. They can do that.
Before you come in,
is it both of us? But the government, the government understands the importance of education to the development of this country, and is taking the step to implement free SHS.
Okay,
that is what the government is doing.
That one we have heard, but still people want to pay for it.
Well,
those want to pay for it are still aware of the importance. Anyway, so I'm just reiterating this point. The GS director is saying that government will sustain it, yet the Deputy Education Minister, Dr. Yawase Duchum, is calling for businesses to support. And even at that conference, there was even a call, this I found very interesting, that businesses should be taxed to fund free SHS. Interesting. So you take the last bite on that.
I'm saying that, you see, let's not pretend that every policy you roll out is rocket science. We've rolled out free school feeding program. Did all schools get? Was it not a national policy?
It was.
We've rolled out several. Look, when we in the university, remember academic facility user fees that students went. When it was rolled out, what was the compromise? The compromise was that if you can't pay all, right, apply to the university and pay by installment. And people are doing that up to today. So there is a way to deal with these things. You see, I'm saying that the policy makers should understand that the world is going the area of social justice. We are not going, I mean, all these free things, how can we sustain them? How can we sustain them?
Because at the end of the day, it's everybody that's being taxed to pay.
Not only free, but you see, Mr. Yamba, development, must also must be followed by quality. So this issue of development that you are talking about, if we have students who cannot use laptops, if they cannot use computers, and we are in a digital age, then what have you done? You send people to school, spend money, and I'm saying that, look, I was in one of I attended 3 secondary schools. I was in one of the schools for homecoming recently. And the food the children were eating. I don't want to go far. But you see, it's an indictment on us. Look, we have a problem. Let's face it. Let's tell ourselves that, okay, like he said, we do not have enough to go around. Let's sit back and solve the problem. Those who can afford, or who should afford, not even can, those who should be able to afford, once you do a means testing,
okay,
they must pay.
Thank you. Now let's take a look at the next story. Richard,
you started with this.
You will touch on it. You will touch on it with
this. It's important to your question.
Yes, but he will have another bite, and we'll be biting.
No. This is just a small thing. Wilberforce, you talked about Dr. Educhum talking about business to come and help. That is a difficulty right there. If you have a situation where you are means testing, and then you are going to have business come, maybe let's say you introduce a 0.0% of a tax, I'm just conjecturing, to for business to be able to fund that. And my kid is not enjoying free SHS. I am paying out of pocket. You see, that becomes a burden that I am having to support twice. So that's why.
But then you have enough money that you will not need help from the businesses.
No. So what you want to do? No, you cannot. Please, any number of people who say they can pay, if you compare to the ones who cannot pay or who can pay but say they don't want to pay, will be a drop compared to those who are not going to pay. So you're still going to have the country, the government underwriting the cost. So that's why you don't muddy the situation.
I don't think we've done the numbers. So let's not just assume.
Okay,
let's just move on to our next story.
CitiNewsroom.com. Akufo-Addo petition to remove incompetent Chief Justice and Attorney General. Says here, President Akufo-Addo has been petitioned by a citizen to remove the Chief Justice Sophia Akufo, claiming she is incompetent. The petitioner, Mensa Thompson, who is also the executive director of Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability, said in his petition that the conduct of the Chief Justice upon her assumption of office shows her incompetence in managing the highest office of the judiciary. So I'm just going to quote him briefly. He says, the conduct of the sitting Chief Justice clearly shows her incompetence in managing the highest office of the judiciary, which has a constitutional mandate to be fair, just, and equitable in the application of the laws of Ghana. He goes on to also target the Attorney General. He says here,
and even
his deputy, Godfred Dame. He says here, it is a bit worrying to see the Deputy Attorney General espouse a position that was clearly in contravention with Article 40, under which the treaty derives its powers locally. More worrying was the Supreme Court also came out with a position that it does not share its powers with any other body. So he wants the Chief Justice and the Attorney General and the Deputy Attorney General.
Which of the deputies?
Godfred Dame. Yes, he wants them all to be removed through his petition.
I think we should start with
they are incompetent.
Since he has a solid legal background himself.
Well, interesting. It's a petition, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the president would have to deal with it the way it must be dealt with. There must be a prima facie matter established, and so we'll take it from there. Now, for me, these are issues that have been raised by somebody. They sound a bit speculative, if you ask me.
Yeah.
And so the appropriate people will look at it, and let's see how it plays out. I don't have all the facts, and so I would not want to belabor the point. Yes, belabor the point. But we've seen the EC boss, president receive a petition, and we saw the fallout. So let's see how this one is also handled, and it will be interesting to watch.
Thank you.
Anyway, so let's hear from you, Richard.
I know, and I followed the Chief Justice and the Attorney General, not so much about the Deputy Godfred Dame. But I know by every measure they are distinguished lawyers. They've practiced over a period of time, especially the Chief Justice and the Attorney General, and I'm very certain the Deputy also. So they have distinguished themselves as professional lawyers, and I have no basis to suggest that they are not able to discharge the responsibilities of their office. Like my brother said, if there's any evidence to suggest that, I think the president will look at it, and maybe the outcome we'll all see. But if you ask me, I think that this is not one thing we should be wasting our time this morning.
But you know what's going to happen eventually when nothing is done. Like he said, the president is supposed to establish a prima facie case. If it was a case against another person who is supposed to be removed under Article 46, that one is the Chief Justice that will look into it and see whether there's a prima facie case. Just like we saw with the Electoral Commissioner, the former Electoral Commissioner, or Chairperson of the Electoral Commission. Now, in this case, the president who appointed a Chief Justice who's supposed to look into it to determine whether there's a case to answer. Now, this is coming closely after Charlotte Osei was removed as chairperson of the EC. So if the president looks at these and decides that there is no case to be answered, and he decides to let it go, this will create a problem, especially even in the minds of the minority, who have said that, in fact, the removal of the EC was not correct. You understand? How are you going to address that challenge?
So, Wilberforce, so that situation you described should not necessarily precipitate finding of fault if there is none. You understand? So, like I said, the president will look at it fairly like he's done all other cases. One thing I want to emphasize for our viewers and for all Ghanaians is that we have a president who is open-minded, president who has demonstrated fairness all along, even though my brothers on the other side will have reason to be skeptical, but this president has been resolute.
I'm happy you know.
You understand? Of course, that's your character. So I know.
You say we have reason to, so
yes,
I'm
of course. Because what else have you not had problem with? So the point I'm trying to make is that the president is fair, is going to look at this with a mind, because of course, his reputation is at stake. He's himself a lawyer, so he's going to look at this with all the seriousness it deserves, and at the end of the day, like he's done everything, what is good for Ghana is what he's going to conclude, and I think that he's done that, and there's no reason to worry in this case.
Okay. Now, before go ahead.
I just want to say that, but for things to be seen as being done fairly, should he just not go straight ahead and set up the 5-member committee in consultation with the Council of State to look into the allegations?
But that's up to him to do. If he does that, fair enough. If he can do it the way he's always done it, and the outcome is always fair, that's up to him. I think we cannot preempt or box him into doing one thing or the other. Okay. What he's able to do, he will do it fairly. And I'm just guaranteeing that any outcome will be the outcome in the best interest of Ghana.
Okay. Now let's read some messages from our viewers, and then we'll take the last story. So it says here, good morning, CCTV, for the good work. Please, a free consultation for the MPP. They cut down the numbers of their ministers, presidential staffers, CEOs, etc. This government is just misusing our taxpayers' money. Oh my God, please kindly save us from them. He said something else, but it doesn't not necessary. Abdul Fatawu from the Upper West. Wow. Dr. Abedi from Kwadaso says, good morning, champion host. I agree with the Professor Aite that the rich parents must pay school fees to support the free senior high school policy from collapsing. But we thank God works begin on Adenta Footbridge today. Hi to Reverend Samuel Mensah of Crofrom Catholic Church, I think, something like that. What's the next?
Now, issues relating to, we are going to enter a bit into your party politics, but before that, let's look at the aftermath of the Adenta issue. Yes. So we are hearing that 6 contractors have been sent to the site. Construction is supposed to commence today, amongst others, and we are still seeing indication from the IGP that live bullets were not used to dispel the riots. There's been a bit of back and forth. So concerning the Adenta Footbridge issue and roads in general.
Yes.
Well, at least something is being done. Let's hope that it's not a 9-day wonder where the contractors will just mobilize to site and pretend they are working and nothing happens. But for me, the big issue is not just about footbridges. As I said yesterday, it's a design issue. We need to look at that whole place and see how best we'll deal with it. Because even the footbridges as they stand now, if you are unwell or you are physically or something handicapped and you are located in a situation, to get to one of the footbridges is a long distance. That is what is making people try to cross the road. So we should look at all sort of, maybe they should do a remarking of the place. The road itself, I've said, and engineers there, must be downgraded to an urban road. Because you see, it is not a highway anymore. Looking at the number of shops, the number of people crossing, it cannot be a highway anymore. We need to redesign. I keep saying that
if we do that, there will be traffic.
No, it's a design issue. You see, you travel abroad, he is coming from the US. Don't you see how the roads are designed in such a way that you may find traffic, but within the next 5 minutes, once the traffic light goes off, you see a large chunk of vehicles go before another. So at least it's a design issue. I have always said that, and I have also always said that. Look, as a people, once we are shouting about Adenta and things like that. Let's also bear in mind that it's a larger problem than Adenta. All of us, I cry when I sit down and I look at a road like this one, this Gang of Four. Have you seen the artist's impression of the road before? Fantastic. They don't follow through the design. All our major roads, look, the middle has to be things done, flowers, and all those to give you some ambience. Nobody does that. And yet they get paid and they go and collect their retention. What happens? I don't know who have been using the Adenta Junction Tolls Amahia road. As early as 2017, you know that road they pretended. Go and look at the potholes. They are larger than what it used to be. What has gone wrong? It clearly tells us that, one, we are not holding our public officers accountable. Well, we the politicians, we have allowed ourselves to hang, because I can't understand that when you have given a contract, there's a consultant. That consultant is a technocrat. There is an engineer. There's a supervising ministry. There's a supervising engineer. And all these people get paid at the end of the month. And yet we continue to talk about shoddy roads. We continue to talk about roads that have design issues and things like that. What are they doing? So we should have a conversation about public works, not even roads alone. Public works, because I still wonder why up to today you are still seeing public buildings without disabled friendly rails and things like that, and we are sitting there, and yet our laws insist on it. So what are we doing to ourselves?
Fantastic. Anyway,
the situation on the Adenta Road, I think, is just a microcosm of bigger issues that we have to do with our roads. I've always maintained that it is an issue of many parts. Be the road users, the pedestrians have to exercise restraint. The drivers have to be careful. Government has to intervene in that space to ensure we regulate and enforce road safety regulations and laws, as it were. Unless and until we do that, we're going to be exposed to some of this. We can do footbridges, which is good. I'm very happy. Work is supposed to commence.
Why did it take so long, though? Why did it take people protesting for work to be done?
Well, you see, Jifa, interestingly, it is not necessarily the protest that actually stampeded people into the government into doing that. There was work underway. But then, of course, it just coincided with this, and we had to.
It's just
what work was underway? What do you mean there was work underway?
Oh, well, if you saw the interministerial statement that was issued, you see they were careful to underline that there was efforts underway to do that before this thing actually happened. Actually, the final straw, before that happened, there was plans for advanced. But my concern is that whilst Adenta was happening, there were other places where there were accidents. So let's not be fixated only there, even though that's the catalyst for all these changes that we're seeing. But let's become aware that we, the people, have to experience some change or come up with, in our own small ways, begin to exercise some attitudinal changes to help all of us. That would make our roads safer. That will make all of us appreciate the usage of our road. Until we do that, I think we can make footbridges, because there are places where there are footbridges, people are not using them and cars are running into people on those same roads. You go to Kaneshi, we've said this many times, on the motorway, which I use every day, I see people sneaking through, fence that are put for people not to go. They break it loose and just crawl through it. The motorway has become a neighborhood street now, because you see people crossing back and forth. Last night I was going home, somebody wearing dark was just crossing the road because he just got off throttle, was just running. You have to be vigilant. Those roads, I don't know if we should downgrade them from being a motorway to something else, but we need to be careful. The way we use our roads is not okay. Maybe government, we need to begin to demarcate properly where people can cross and begin to enforce some sanctions. If I see you, or you are crossing the road where it's not demarcated for you to cross the road, there should be some sanctions. Local government
put sanctions on those in charge for not putting up footbridges early enough for people, so many lives to be lost.
Of course. What I'm saying is that all of us must become responsible. In fact, and I like what he said, the politicians have always taken the flag for all this. Our civil servants are the biggest culprit in all of these things. because they are there, they have institutional memory, they are there to make sure that it's somebody's work to go and do that, not the ministers, not the presidents, but the person didn't do it.
But that person answers to the minister, right?
Here's what I'm saying. You know, the civil servants, their regime is so entrenched, and you know that, it's so entrenched that you can, there's very little you can do to them. They understand that. You understand? So for we, the political class, when you get there, the need for us to be able to do something about that. My brother, maybe you come back to Parliament again, if he does, to begin to activate our laws in ways that we can review and make it so that, you know, they become responsive to the job.
Richard, respectfully, I think the civil servants are still there, but now we found a solution to the Medina Delta situation, right?
Because
and beyond footbridges, some streets don't have traffic lights.
That's what I'm saying. But
all these things, willpower of politicians play a role in it.
I understand our appetite to blame the politicians, but I'm just saying,
the politicians, we're just laying the responsibility where it's due.
Wait.
Civil servants answer to politicians. When you go to these offices, the politician is the boss. The politicians can actually transfer the civil servant if they want to. So it's not as though they are untouchable.
Yeah,
and I don't think it's unfair to
in
make
real
it look
time.
like
No. You see,
civil
when this
servants
happened,
can do whatever they want.
When this happened, how many civil servants have you called to sit here and say, whose work is it to mark or to do this traffic?
The politician will be in a better place to answer that question.
Yes.
To answer which civil servant exactly.
If you go to the ministries, the person who runs the ministry is not a politician.
Yes,
is the chief director. So why are we not calling that person? You see, let's not make it.
The chief director works with the minister.
Exactly, but then the day-to-day administration.
Yes.
Let's be open-minded here. Okay.
Yes.
Hold on. Have you called the chief director? Okay, to answer any question with respect to this?
And I'm saying,
we haven't. What I am trying to say is that
hold
on. What I'm saying is that it is okay, the responsibility and the backstop with the minister.
Then
but you see, if you as a media, please, it's very important. If you as a media, in your contribution to solving the problem, want to understand where the problem is, it's not only to assign the blame, but to find out where the problem is so you can help in education to try to fix it. So we need to understand. Okay, you call the politician.
We spoke from politician through to MC to directors, amongst others,
and engineers and everything
else.
Let's
move straight to this particular story.
That's why I said that we always hold ourselves to hand. You know why? Most politicians, when an issue of Adenta comes up, he is not saying to any journalist that, you know what, give me 5 minutes, I'll get back to you. Call the chief director and sit down and want to understand the problem. The moment they stuff a microphone before him, he starts talking about things he doesn't know. That is the bane of the politician. Look, I sat on Public Accounts Committee and I used to tell the minister, I said, are you guys crazy? You have been at this ministry for a year. This guy is the he's been chief finance officer for 4 years. So when we are talking about the accounts of the ministry, he is better placed. Put him there. Let him answer the hard questions. You come there, you are playing Father Christmas. So I'll put the hit on you, and the people will look at you and see that you cannot deliver.
Is it honorable? This is very important. This is why I am putting you on the spot.
But you're not putting us on the spot, Richard. Because the minister works with the chief justice. What's the name of the chief director? Chief director. The minister works with the chief director. Okay. So if the minister is not doing his job, let's get rid of him. Period. You cannot say it's not my fault. I can't say I didn't prepare myself because my producer didn't give me what I need.
Look, you see, I'm trying.
And it's everyone, and it's not just the chief director. It's the engineers, the people who get the contract. We've looked at all these things, the contractors. Right.
I'm surprised you're not being open-minded at this. No, because the thing about it is this. I'm very, very honest.
Really, Richard? Yes. I'm not being open-minded because ministers are not doing their job.
No, not necessarily. What I'm saying is that you should dig in. Because you should be interested in.
Is it not the minister? Richard, is the minister in a position to ensure that this is done?
Your responsibility is not to me. Your responsibility is to the viewers.
Is the minister in a position to ensure
Attorney General I respected most. Do you know why?
Why?
Ayito was counted occasion will be driving in his car towards Parliament or anywhere, and he gets a call from a radio station. You know what he said one day? He said, "My brother, I don't carry the Constitution in my head. Let me sit at my desk. I'll answer all your questions."
That's all.
That is the way it should be. That is why we appoint PR managers for every ministry. But in these things, this whole thing, how many of the PR were willing to talk? And the ministers are sitting there, and then they are taking the flag and they are smiling.
And these are ministers who come in with their own personal assistants aside the civil servants. So we have to hold them accountable. Because you're bringing extra people the taxpayers are paying for. I don't care if you're paying for them yourself. Do your job. People shouldn't be dying because you're sleeping on your job. And if we hold you accountable, you can't blame the civil servant. There's no excuse for it.
Richard has I haven't agreed, but I'm. It's okay. Whoever first. You after this we'll have some conversation.
We should. Okay. Now Alote Jacob goes wild. I want you to
very well. Let's talk about that.
No, this is his party matter. Let's just leave him to have a say on this. So Alote Jacob talked to social media and he said, we know the back and forth going on with him and
General Mosquito.
Yes.
Essiedu
Nketia. So Essiedu Nketia actually criticized regional chairman for endorsing former President Mahama, and then he gets angry and goes on the social media to say that sycophancy is when 10 regional chairmen endorse John Mahama and you castigate them for doing so, and when the race for general secretary is hot, you endorse Mahama's flag bearership. God will punish you. So this is what happened to this came out yesterday, and we are wondering what your opinion on this is, the back and forth, and also looking forward to Saturday.
Yeah. No, we are in that time, that season, you know, where people are jostling for various positions, and therefore you should expect some of these things.
No,
you know, coming. You should expect some of these things coming up. I mean, Alote Jacobs and the 10 regional chairmen made a statement some time ago, and people criticized, including Essiedu Nketia. I, unfortunately, have not listened to what Essiedu Nketia said in respect of endorsing President Mahama, former President Mahama. If he did, he was also not in place because he is still the general secretary of the party, and that he is supposed to superintend over all these things. Should he win, he is still going to be, should he win, he will be general secretary and then would have been going into presidential primaries, and he's supposed to superintend. So if it so happens that he's the general secretary and President Mahama wins, what if somebody accuses you of, he had always been your candidate, so maybe you helped him or you manipulated the process. So in all that, the regional chairmen were not right, and if General Mosquito also has gone out there to endorse President Mahama, I think that is not right. It's a fair playing field for everybody, you know. But like I said, I haven't listened to Mosquito, so I don't know exactly what Alote Jacobs is fighting. I don't know also if there are personal issues between the two of them. They are two adults, so.
You are delegate. Will you tell us who you are going to vote for?
Oh, no. I think that it's not fair to the people out there, to myself.
Okay.
I think that is why we call it secret ballot. That day I'll go there, God willing, and I'll choose.
Hopefully there won't be any gas stove and the likes.
You told me on Saturday as well. This is
an internal matter.
Are you serious?
This is fearsome for them. This is fearsome for them.
No.
Richard, I have gagged you on this particular issue.
No.
Okay, just 10 seconds before you
come on.
We run out of time.
You used to like democracy. Come on. You just said.
You used to like democracy.
Yes. You see, you just told him what General Mosquito said in response to 10 regional chairmen endorsing, but he said he doesn't know. He said it's a bad idea.
Don't misquote me.
No, you just said.
I said I didn't hear what Mosquito
okay, but he just told you. And I'm saying he just told you.
In respect of.
Okay, you allow me. So here's the thing.
But this one, I know that the 10 regional chairmen, and then they came out.
Okay.
The NDC has problem with democracy. I think what they are doing now is a reflection of what they will do when they come to government. They have double standards. They don't believe.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you very much.
We see where the guy is going.
Communications Director, MPP USA, the Chicago chapter, and of course.
George Lowe is a former member of parliament for North Dine, and thank you very much.
Thank you both. Right, up next we're going to talk about diabetes and how to avoid it and all the goodies that you need to learn so that you don't end up borderline diabetic like I did. Okay, we'll be right back.
Oh, you can avoid it?
Yeah.
Yes. You can avoid
eyes in the eyes of the beholder. And at Second Image, getting that beauty is our priority, with services for facials for spots and wrinkles, body treatment for body shaping and slimming, hairstyling for bridal dressing, body massage, manicure and pedicure, artificial nail extensions. Guarantees you that perfect body and skin. Second Image also offers training for students in hairdressing, beauty therapy and fashion, and design up to HND level. Our course duration ranges from 2 to 6 weeks for short courses or up to 2 years. Second Image also runs a special foundation program for JHS leavers in hair and beauty therapy, dressmaking and electronics. Contact us now on 0243-331-999 or 0302-221-376. Or you can locate Second Image next to Adabraka Police Station, Kwame Nkrumah Avenue, or visit us at secondimagegana.com. Admissions run throughout the year. Second Image gives you a new image. Second Image. Be empowered to succeed.
Get the backstory of the major news stories on Press Conference. Hear from the editors and the reporters behind the biggest stories of the week.
The university needs to think and reconsider. There are women who are in our universities who have been sexually molested for grades. That doesn't matter.
Press Conference every Sunday at 9 p.m. with Duke Mensah Opoku, only on City TV.
This is The Point of View. We are live on City TV this and every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m.
Tune in to The Point of View, Mondays and Wednesdays at 9 p.m. as Bernard Avlet takes the news further. He will bring the right guests, ask them the relevant questions, and get you the real insights you need on the big stories for the day.
All that the industry is saying is that this tax will be incident on the person it's intended to. But when it comes to the pricing itself, individual pricing, not only are the telcos even pricing for everybody. Bernard, I don't know which network you're on. The price you get on your network will be different from the price I get. So in terms of competition amongst our members, it's as intense as anything. So
The Point of View with Bernard Avlet, Monday and Wednesday nights, only on City TV.
Welcome back. This is Breakfast Daily on City TV. Before the break, I told you that we're going to talk about diabetes. It's a disease that a lot of us are battling with, but it's preventable, right? If you make the right choices, if you eat well, exercise regularly, chances of getting it is actually a bit, smaller. I just found out that diabetes can actually lead to blindness, amputation, and kidney failure, which I had no idea about. So Dr. Senyo is going to tell us exactly what diabetes is, how we get it, and ways to prevent getting diabetes. And if you do get diabetes, it is not the end of the world. You can still maintain a healthy lifestyle with diabetes. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here.
So tomorrow is World Diabetes Day.
Yes.
What is diabetes?
Well, diabetes is just is a chronic disease, or we want to say that it's a group of conditions that are under one that is due to either lack of or inadequate use of what we call insulin, all right, which leads to high sugar in the blood.
What's
and then
insulin?
That leads to, now insulin is a chemical that's produced from one part of the body, which is called the pancreas. So I'll take you through. When you put food in your mouth, okay, signals are sent that, look, something has come into your mouth. Juices are produced to calm and help digestion right from here, and then goes down your throat. By the time it goes to the